Hello, hello, and welcome to New World, Aeternum Weekly, episode 12. Happy Thanksgiving from the New World. I feel like, what's that song? Keep on rocking in the free world. Yeah. I'm your host, Kai Zen, and I am drinking a salted caramel fucking Dragon's Milk Reserve, and this shit is legit. And I just finished a truly strawberry lemonade hard seltzer, whatever the hell that is. It was fruity. It was good. Whoo! I'm here tonight joined by WOLFDRAGON. Say hello. He's my XO in pretty much life. Say hi, Wolf.
I don't know if I want that level of responsibility. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're here to join us.
What are you drinking and what are you how you feeling this Thanksgiving weekend?
You ask a really good question about what I'm drinking. Let me slide over and grab that out of the refrigerator now. Oh, look, it's a dragon's milk.
Hell yes. Let me put some video up for our peoples. We also have joining us tonight my main man, Ark. Say hello to the beautiful people, ARKHAVEN. What you drinking?
What's up? What's up? What's going on, man? I was drinking Jameson on the rocks, but now I'm just having a little water, trying to mellow out. It's getting late over here across the pond.
Right on, right on. Yeah, you're in Germany. Deutschland, Deutschland. Right on. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Obviously, boy, it's been a week for New World. There's been a lot of great stuff. There's been some not so great stuff. There's been all kinds of feelings all this way and that way about everything. But why don't we start off with just going across the group and, what have you done in New World this week? Let's start with you, Wolf. What all have you been doing?
So, I've been doing quite a bit of fishing because I have that quest where you got to get 25 of the different fish fillets, and oh my god, is getting the delicate one a pain in the ass.
Delicate is the only hard one. The other ones you'll have like hundreds of the regular, firm, and whatever, but the delicate is A lot of people cheat and hit the market board up and buy them for like 90 cents a pop.
I mean, there is that.
I know because I've sold
spoiler alert. Next mission, you have to be, a high fishing level. So I've just been grinding that out, and I thought it was funny because I went from level 57 and a quarter to now just a shade over 58 by just fishing.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
And you're talking about your game level, not your fishing level. Yeah.
At my game level, my fishing level, actually, we'll see. Landed on hotspot. That's always a good thing to see.
Beautiful.
Reel it. 93. That is my current fishing level.
Not too
So I'm getting there
shabby.
for the next one.
I know that those delicate fish fillets sell because I've sold like 100 of them today for 90 cents each. I've just been fucking banging it out.
I would like to know where you got 100 of them from.
Mostly from eels and the shark tooth fish. Saltwater, mostly saltwater. And there's the other one. I forget the name of it. I think the swordfish gives you delicates. Yeah.
Okay.
Right on. Wolf. Not Wolf. God damn it. Ark. What have you been doing this week?
Man, I've been doing a lot of PvP and testing out that void gauntlet like I said I would. Taking a look at it from a tanking and a DPS perspective.
Right
and
on.
Of course, I'm sure we'll talk about it later. We ran some end game expeditions.
Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we ran Laz, and we went in there with a group where like no one knew anything about it, right? I mean, there was nobody in our original group that had been there. None of us read anything about it. We just went in there brand new. And decided to test it out, and we learned some things about ourselves.
We did learn some stuff. Let's talk about
Say
it.
the least. Yeah, I think probably part of the problem is right in New World. I don't know if I've ever seen this in any other MMO, maybe other than like in the beginning stages of WoW or something like that, where you've got so many players playing the game where this is their first MMO. So You know,
that's a great and a bad thing. That can be a phenomenal thing, but that definitely brings challenges, let's say.
that's right. So I think one of the big challenges that we see is if you're not, let's say, testing your potential every day, right? You're not doing um, level expeditions, or PvP is a very good way to kind of test your mettle right from the jump, because you're obviously playing against another player who's probably PvP more than you if you're not a PvPer. But if you're not doing those things, it can be very deceiving in this game that your damage is high, or that the your rotation is the right one, or that the armor you're in is sound. I mean, it's very difficult to figure out whether or not that's true until you get into that end game, your level type of difficulty.
Mm.
And I think that's what we all found out. I mean, I'll use myself as an example. I rolled in medium armor with a melee axe hammer DPS, and I learned after about, I would say, the third or so encounter, that, yep, I need to be in heavy armor. This isn't going to work. I mean, luckily I had a heavy armor set. I mean, I came in there ready to go. I had all the, it was an Ancients dungeon. I had the Ancients coding. I had, all my strength foods. I had freaking the right infused potion. I had all the right stuff, and I had a heavy set just in case something would happen. But that's because, I've been playing MMOs for a long time, and I know with these end-game dungeons that you've got to be prepared because shit can go wrong really quick.
Mm.
So when stuff went wrong, I quickly had to learn, man, this is not going to work in medium armor. I have to take that little bit of hit to DPS so I can become more survivable. Because if I'm dead, I'm not doing any DPS. But that's just one instance on me. I don't want to talk, about the group as its entirety. But I learned really quickly that what I had thought was going to be viable was not viable. And then later, we ran into some other players that we eventually had to pug because we spent 3 or 4 hours. We also learned that there's a 3 or 4 hour, I don't know what it is, timer in the dungeon.
Yeah, it's a 2.5 to 3 hour timer for the dungeon, because we basically spent 2 hours in there on the first group, on the first composition, sort of wipe after wipe after wipe for progression, and then we started in with the second group, and we had sort of a configuration to get it done, but we just didn't have at that point sort of the time. We ran out of time as we had were succeeding in everything, but we just ran out of time on our way to the last boss.
That's right. Now, ultimately, just to kind of fast forward the story a little bit, we went back in there again once we A, understood the tactics, B, understood where we needed to make some adjustments with our equipment, things like that. And we were with a couple other folks that had actually done it before. So we learned, not just the observation tactics, we learned some of the fine arts of, running something for a very long time and then learning exactly, the little nuances. And we ran through the whole thing, I think, in about 40 minutes. I think it was pretty fast.
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to some of the boys from the House of Var, specifically Demon Sickle, Slugs, and Fu, the God tier healer. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so we ran through. It's not a hard dungeon after we kind of figured the mechanics out, figured out what we had. But like I said, going back to this, this being the very first MMO for some folks, I think one of the things that advice, I'll give some advice to folks that is just coming into MMOs. Those experiences are necessary to improve everything. Your skills, your rotations, everything about the game for you and what you're going to do. But also, we learned that, boy, just right now, the way the game's working with watermarks, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go into expeditions at all, other than to finish a story quest or get an achievement. Because that moment, at least for me, one of the most pivotal moments in a dungeon or expedition is when you get that drop you're looking for. Get that one drop. It's the perfect roll. It's got the right, in this game, it's got the right perks, it's got the right attributes, it's got everything. I got 2 of those, exactly what I wanted. Great Axe, Vicious, Keen, or Vicious, and with the Execute ability, which is great for PvE, that heals you. And I got a Warhammer, Vicious Keen on it. The problem is, they drop, because my water score is poop, or watermark, it dropped at like 504 or 6 or something like that. And I'm rocking 585, 590, some stuff that I have bought. That's a problem. because that took all the wind out of my sail really quick. And I started asking myself, why would I ever want to run, if not to advance the main storyline? Why would I ever want to run one of these dungeons again? As much as it sort of costs for repairs, as much of a headache they can be, and the fact that we don't have, I lost my orb in there, the very first one we didn't make it, and then you helped me get back in with yours. But why am I like, what's the motivation for me to go do that? And that's where I think Amazon, has to take a look at this watermark system and just figure out, like, is this what we want to do? And if yes, are we okay that most people aren't going to have much replayability in our expeditions until they got their watermark
So
higher?
I just want to clarify in case anybody's confused or thinking that you're making a statement that you're not. At this point, when you say expeditions, you literally just mean expedition singularly, because the watermark only implies to the level 60 expedition, which is Lazarus instrumentality. Now, it does apply also as well to like 3 arenas, so like Genesis, Garden of Genesis, whatchamacallit, like it applies to arenas, but it's just one dungeon right now that problem exists for. If you're doing Dynasty, if you're doing Depths, if you're doing Amrine, watermark isn't a thing. It's just you go in there and you get the gear for that level, for the dungeon.
Yeah, but I guess the biggest thing to kind of equate it to, of the three, and it's as if you're not really at end game, right? When you're at end game, this is the time in most MMOs where you start seeking out the gear that you're going to, that's going to be your shtick until the next, downloadable game content comes out or something.
Yep.
That's not the case. I feel like I'm not at end game right now. I'm at end level, but I'm not at the end game until, my watermark is probably sitting around 570 or 80, which matches the kind of gear score that I just bought off the market that's fairly, good.
I get that.
So
Yep.
stuff.
So just for my own thing, because I'm only level 58. I'm not quite there. As I understand how the watermarking system, as it's currently implemented, works, it's you adjust your watermarks based on, you go to like Lazarus Instrumentality or those other very few far between things to choose from to try and get the higher levels, the higher gear score stuff. And as you get the higher gear score stuff, it boosts your watermark. So you have to do them over and over and over and over again.
So
But as I understand it, you have to do the, for your hat slot, you have light, medium, and heavy armor for the hat slot, and then the torso slot, and then your gloves, and your pants, and your shoes, and your shield, and it's like, I got that, and then all the different weapons have their own that you have to do, and it's not like there's one watermark through them all. It's a watermark on each and every different iteration of things that you can equip, right?
So sort of, this doesn't apply to dungeons only. It applies to everything, and it doesn't turn on until you hit level 60. So it's not even a thing until you hit 60. Once you hit level 60, then you start off with a watermark of 500, gear score 500 for every slot. I think it originally people thought that it was light, heavy, and medium of hands, head, legs, feet, and chest. I think now they're leaning towards the fact that it's not that. It's just hand, legs, feet, and chest, and then you could randomly get light, medium, or heavy. That's not tied to that. But it's not just in dungeons. It's literally anywhere. So out in the open world, you go to Merkgard, you fucking kill a guy, he drops a bag, it has loot in it. It could be, anything in that 500 plus range, and then you level them up as you go around and you get higher and higher. And it is anything that drops that you can loot raises your gear score. You don't have to loot it, you don't have to equip it, but that's just world drops, random drops. That does not include you bought it on the market board, you crafted
so there's
it,
more opportunities
you got it as a quest
than I was
resort.
thinking.
It doesn't include any of that stuff. So basically what's happening is a lot of people are running Lazarus Instrumentality like once, if at all, just once, because they want to finish the story like we did and say, okay, I've now completed all of the stuffs. But they're not going back and farming it because the key is so precious. It's hard to get. It's a pain in the balls. It's a lot of time and money. You have to level up to 200 stone cutting to even start the process. Then you have to go and do a ton of, and Amazon is aware of this and have already lowered the amount of what you need to get to make a key. But people are literally, a lot of the top people in the community are saying, yeah, this wasn't enough. It needs to be lowered more. This is still kind of shitty. It still kind of sucks. I honestly don't like the idea of the keys at all. I do like the idea of putting a roadblock on the being able to do the dungeons. What you don't want is people to run Lazarus like 10 times on a Saturday, because then they sort of disrespect your content. But I like the idea of maybe saying, you know, there's like a simple, super simple quest, like go here and kill this one mini boss in the world, and you can get a key. He'll drop a key every time, but like you're only allowed to farm him like once a week or once every 3 days. I like the idea of sort of making it to where it's sort of harder to get into the dungeons. But this key Mishigas right now that they have, it's too much effort. People are just not doing it. And they're like, well, we'll make it easier. They made it 12% easier when they needed to make it like 80% easier. And I'm sure that this whole thing is they said it right when they put out the thing. They said, hey, we're making it easier because we want people to do it more. But we're gonna look at the numbers. We're gonna see. We want your feedback. Tell us, what do you think? And pretty much, I think, by and large, people are saying like, yeah, this wasn't enough. Like, you fixed a thing a little, but it needs a lot more fixing. So does that answer your question, Wolf?
Bit, yeah, and I do hope if they want to put in some sort of limit to how many times you can run it, you got to go defeat a world boss or something and whatnot. I do hope they don't make it so that it only spawns every, X number of times during the clock hour of the day or something like that, because you're gonna get it's gonna be difficult for the regular Joe Blow to go get that
No.
and
I'm thinking
do
like
the thing later.
No. I'm thinking like put it in a chest behind a boss that you have to fight this guy, but then like it's there 100% of the time and everybody can get it, but like it's limited. Like you can only collect this chest, twice a week or something. Like I like the idea.
Oh, like how they do the elite chests
Yes.
once a day.
Yeah, but
Okay.
make
That
it
makes sense.
make it once or twice a week so that people can get in there without like this right now. It's like literally level your stone cutting to 200, pain in the balls, then spend hours like 10, 12 hours running corrupted portals, then go and get these other things. Like it's a lot right now. It's too much right now. So we never covered what I've been doing this week. I'm right now farming the last of the fishing spots. I'm mapping all of the fishing spots in the world. I'm at like 190 or something fishing, and I'm
Holy
just
crap.
pushing through and getting it done, having fun. Maybe in the 180s somewhere, but I plan on basically capping out fishing, and then I'm gonna go hard on armoring, and doing that. I did complete Lazarus Instrumentality as Ark was saying earlier. I want to get some more sort of information from Ark as far as I know you've been doing a lot of Outpost Rush and seeing as the meta has progressed on that through the week. Let's talk a little bit about that and how you're seeing things with the Void Gauntlet meta and the changes in PvP to the weapon balancing and whatnot playing out.
Yeah, so I started the week off playing just a ton of Outpost Rush, and I said last week that some of the problems were that the way people are playing Outpost Rush has changed now. Now it's just a big Zerg for Sun. Whoever gets it, if they push hard enough, they'll then push all the way back to your spawn point, and then it's just stupid. What I've noticed throughout the week is that everyone's kind of caught on to that now. More people are starting to read, which is a good thing. They're still not, reading throughout the game, but they're at least reading the beginning stuff that's happening.
Mm.
So like I'm seeing less of Zerg pushes all the way to the spawn point and more of like a focus on trying to control Sun. But to the meta of the gauntlet, like I'm still not seeing a ton of them out there. They're definitely out there.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted to do is I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to power level it, and I wanted to test it out in my intelligence tank concept,
Mm-hmm.
and I also wanted to test it out just for raw DPS. And I found some pretty interesting things with it. One, and a couple people have put content out in this now too. But just to summarize, it is a very viable weapon for and it's deceiving viable for DPS. Let's start there. One, the when you have it on, even when you jack up intellect the whole way. So if you happen to be like a dexterity player or a strength player, you're used to putting your axe on or your musket, and like you see big 1200, 1300 your musket. I've been all the way up to 16 some hundred DPS, 1700 DPS showing up in your attributes bar on the far right where your damage is. You're not going to see that with fire staff and gauntlets, and they sit around 900 or so, and then you can see even less so with the uh, void gauntlet. But that shit doesn't matter. It puts out nasty DPS. I thought it was gonna have a problem because it didn't have grit. So I thought maybe it just gets interrupted a ton. It doesn't really get interrupted, especially in PvE. You can just spam those light attacks. Most of it, well, it's split. Some of the heals aren't linked to focus, so you can still get really good sustain without having any points in focus whatsoever. You just have to be careful which ones, when you're putting your passives in and do that so you don't waste passive points. Um, and you can now do a lot of things. Like I started off the musket, and my musket was already a hybrid between dexterity and intellect,
Mm.
and I started rolling with that, and I just had, I think 150 intellect on my hybrid, and it just did nasty DPS. So someone came in. Now, normally I have the rapier. Someone comes in, I have a lot of defensive mechanisms to either finish someone off or just reposition myself. When you've got the Void Gauntlet, it has no movement mechanisms really. So when you roll that with musket, you're all in to win. Like once you engage with somebody, you're not getting away. They're either gonna run away or try to run away, or you're gonna freaking kill them, or you're gonna die. One of those three things are gonna happen. You're not going to get away with that combo.
Mm.
I tested the fire staff, a lot more viable at fire staff, a lot more movement. But ultimately, in PvP, it's one of the problems it still has is that you are going to have to get in melee. So unless you're running like a heavy armor build resistance, you're going to have a lot of problems when all the different Warhammer stuns come up and everything else. But it's definitely a viable PvE asset. It's very easy to level because you can really do a lot of damage with it. After just about 4 or 5 skill points. So I think it's good. I think it's tanking wise, dude. You saw the difference in Laz whenever we started having a guy who can drop down that star, that bubble, or the
Oblivion.
Oblivion
Yeah.
ring, which does two things mainly. One, gives us own power, so our DPS goes up. Two, like you have unlimited stamina as long as that thing's blocking. Like tanks who use that, which fit perfectly into the Void Gauntlet intellect tank build, where Sword and Shield Void Gauntlet, you're laying your own thing that's boosting DPS and giving you essentially unlimited freaking heals or stamina. Just nasty. And if you get a decent group that maybe you have a couple different Void Gauntlet users in there and they're able to keep a rotation up of that thing, I think you'll see a lot of interesting tank builds start to arise where basically the tanks can just perma block and
Mm.
not have a problem with anything. But good testing, it's good fun. I definitely think it's one of the easier weapons to level if you want to go try it out. And again, don't be discouraged if you see it's not sitting very high in terms of where it says the damage is. I promise you, you drop down that Oblivion, you pull that friggin' Halo sword out, and you start spamming away. You're gonna both be getting sustained heals and put out a ton of DPS. plus whatever other kind of mechanisms you have in your off bar, whether you're dropping down. A cool build, a fun build was with ice gauntlets, double gauntlets, dropping down ice and the snowstorm, and then having that dot on somebody, then switching over and keeping them locked in it, just fucking hacking away with the Oblivion Sword. Good times, man.
I think
I definitely recommend checking it out.
I think also too a lot of people are sleeping on the party. So like there's the aspect of it, there's the Halo sword, you know, you got your fucking laser sword, that's cool, whatever. But like to me, I'm much more interested in Void Gauntlet as a back bar weapon for the sort of party buff and utility aspect to it. Buff, debuff, whatever. I think it's you're exactly what thing that you just said I think is exactly right. Is it's not so much about what you're doing as like what you can do to the mob that allows the party as a whole to do better with what they're doing. And I think we're gonna see with the Void Gauntlet, it's gonna be a hilarious thing. The first thing you're gonna see is the first wave of everybody wants to use a Void Gauntlet. They gotta level it up. They want to use a Void Gauntlet because it's the new. Then the second wave of people saying Void Gauntlet is trash because my personal numbers aren't fucking stupid buffed. And then the third wave of content creators showing builds of the sustain, the utility, the viability group wise of a Void Gauntlet. And then the fourth wave of a bunch of people coming back on the bandwagon of playing it. And then, you know, it sort of it evens out and it finds its place in the meta. And things sort of settle in until the next time there's a new and everybody loses their fucking mind again. What do you think on that, Wolf and Sword both, or Wolf and Ark both?
I mean, so I'll be the first to admit, the way that I want to play this game, I am quite summarily disinterested in running the Void Gauntlet myself. However, from the utility standpoint of what it does for the party, if you're the kind of player that wants to do a support role, not necessarily being a healer, but you know, a support role, this is an excellent way to fulfill that, because what you can do, as Ark was saying, with the different abilities and the numbers that it causes with the various perks that it gives you once you're in that bubble, you become an absolutely integral part of things, especially for when things start to get really hairy and you have to start punching above your weight class as a party going around. So I see this as being a very interesting way for a low-level quote-unquote group to go around doing things and starting some fights and getting into trouble and being able to have the survivability to go through it. And granted, they're going to have to work on it. They're gonna have a hell of a story to tell, but it's gonna give them something that is supremely fun to go do. It's like, yeah, we rolled in on this area and everyone was, 5, 6, however many levels higher than us. We had no business being there, and this is the strat and the tactic that we were using, and we just rolled in and crushed face.
Nice. Ark,
sounds awesome.
Ark, what do you think on my little supposition there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a little. I keep hearing everyone say, "Oh, it's not meant to be a main," but man, I tell you what, like you can definitely run it as a main.
I mean, you could.
It just make something else the supporting records. Here's a hidden secret to this game. Hidden secret to this game. Ready? If you're a type of person and you would love to play, like have a lot of different weapon combinations, a lot of different things you can do, go int build. You can literally run, if you go to your attributes, you can literally run 3, either hit 100 or 150 in Constitution, everything else in int, and from there you can literally play any weapon combination besides the heal staff, because you have the int gems, right? So there's all kinds of cool things that you can do with the freaking Void Gauntlet as your main, and the Great Axe as, or the Warhammer as sort of the secondary weapons that can create CC opportunities, give you more movement, mobility. So like, intelligence builds right now because of those gems are really the way to go if you want to try a bunch of stuff. But I definitely think you'll see a lot more of it. One of the problems, Kai, right now is it is the absolute killer of the paladins right now because you can put a 50%, I think it is, reduction and heals
Mm-hmm.
on somebody. But here's the problem. Go ahead and look, like our server's pretty populated. Go ahead and try to find some of that gear. There's nothing. Everyone's trying to get it right now. I think the Void Gauntlet's fun to level up right now, play around with a little bit. It's fun for some supporting roles. It's fun for the healer to be able to lay down extra DPS, and it's pretty easy for him to do it. We watched Fu just basically come up, lay at her feet, then come right back out. He also had a Warhammer in his inventory. You know, it's interesting going into Lazarus place like that. It's good to have. You certainly would want a Void Gauntlet in your toolbox, along with a couple other side weapons to swap in and out based on the fight techniques. But I think it's good right now to try out. But I think it's going to be a little while, except for the hardcore gamers, or the guys that can make this stuff on their own already, before you get to get the full kind of play out of it, because everybody wants its gear and it's hard as hell to find it.
So I want to get your opinion also too. We've covered the Void Gauntlet thing well, I think. I want to hear your opinion on this week because I know you pretty much like spend all day in uh in Outpost Rush. I want your opinion on sort of the breakdown of the meta on Outpost Rush for this week.
What do you mean, the meta builds?
Like the builds, how games are playing out. We had an interesting conversation earlier where we were talking about how the games are basically sort of shaking out really early now on, you know, whoever caps what is it, Sun, basically pushes through to the third and then camps people at their spawn point or whatever. Has that, you know, that was a thing we talked about a good bit last week. Has that gotten any better, or is that still pretty much, you know, just a thing? I know you've had a couple of back and forth tight games this week.
Yeah. I mentioned a little bit earlier. It has changed. It seems like more people understand what was going on now, and now people are listening and doing that big sun. It requires a big sun push right from the jump. You can't have 10 people go out and try to get brutes and everything else, because by the time you're done with that, and that used to be the shtick, right? The shtick used to be, you know, take off your top if you need to, get full speed, get down there, build up a brute, and then with the brutes. Problem is, in the new kind of meta of gameplay, they just burst straight through sun, straight into freaking your respawn point, and it doesn't matter. Um, so now we're starting to see a lot of people understand that. So you see a lot more people kind of lingering around sun,
Mm.
and keep, you know, the fight stays generally in the center. Like I just ran a couple 40 right in here. Neither one of them got the Zergs all the way up to the freaking spawn point. So it's getting better, but you still get some weird shakeups. Like I just got into weird shakeup teams where we're like, you just didn't have enough people that were. One of the things you're seeing right now is build wise, everybody and their dog is testing out the musket. So it is like it's like a, you know, like an old World War kind of one trenches fight, right? Everyone rushes
Sounds
to
like
the
a
middle, and
Civil War reenactment.
as soon as you get close enough, you just start seeing the shots fly around everywhere,
Mm.
and they hit hard. Even when you know, you're like me, you have everything, you know, you're full crit, heavy armor, you're still going to get jacked up if you don't pay attention.
Mm.
So you're seeing a whole bunch of range guys, and the problem now though is if you get the wrong ratio, there's no one to rush inside that fort, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
Mm.
I am seeing a lot of people put up a lot more turrets lately. I'm starting to see at least a turret up a fight.
Mm.
So that's good. That's interesting. I think they still. I'm starting to see like what I started doing. The technique I started doing now is I'll time it about 2 minutes or 3 minutes in the fight, and I'll just shoot over to where the freaking brute spawn is, and I'll just basically defend that point and try to jack people up. I jacked some dudes up the last couple times I was in there, just taking their junk, or making them bring a lot of people over to get a brute. So there's some interesting. I think you're going to see more and more tactics evolve a little bit. You're going to see more people, I think, figure out quickly that it's much easier to just spam click, you know, light attacks with a great axe or hatchet, and then have stuns with a hammer than it is to aim down headshots with a musket. So I think we'll see that probably balance out soon. But right now, I got go check it out. It's fun. You got a crap ton of rapiers, people freaking flashing all over the field. You got a ton of freaking musket fire everywhere. It's pretty interesting.
Right on, right on. Oh crap! I think I might have my sound going, and I'm playing the games, so I might be. Hold on, let me. I just noticed that. Let me turn off sound in the game, because I think people are hearing me craft and fucking and do stuff. Yeah, yeah. Okay, good deal, good deal. Audio muted. There we go. So that is sort of where Outpost Rush is for this week. I can tell you from Invasions, they lowered the strength of Spriggan a little bit. They lowered the strength of. It seems like they lowered the strength of Spriggans doing damage on people, and also by a lot doing damage on the emplacements, columns, the central column specifically. They said that they were going to stop the body blocks on Spriggans, but I have personally body blocked multiple Spriggans since then, so I know that they made it harder. They definitely made it harder to body block Spriggan, but it's not impossible. And I have had great success when I go sword and shield with the taunt. I have been able to fish Spriggans, priests, brutes, bears, all of it. I can fish them off the door, and then position and body block so they don't get back to it while people melt them. It seems like they didn't document that, like brutes and bears and all of the other things. They only documented that Spriggans and I think captains were getting a sort of a nerf to their health and to their damage. But it seems like across the board, everything got a little easier. Now, this could be just a sign of like the server progressing and people getting more loot and higher gear scores, and therefore us doing better. But it honestly seems like with Invasions that it's gotten sort of a lot easier pre-Wave 6. Now, I want to distinguish this because pre-Wave 6, I feel like people are overpowered and they're getting cocky and they're like, wow, man, we own this shit. We got this. But then Wave 7 and 8, they still turn it up to like stupid levels. And I honestly feel, I could be wrong, but it feels to me almost like Amazon is making sure that it's like, yeah, that's cool, but we don't want you to be able to win these just yet, like regularly, because we want your stations to all get downgraded every few days so that you are continually on that treadmill of like re-leveling them back up. And I think this is supposition on my part, but a certain amount of it seems like sort of like, okay, we're just at vanilla. We haven't had a lot of chance to we haven't had time to release lots of new expansion content yet. We want to make this hard. If you remember back to WoW, Kael'thas was impossible to win. Literally, just you could not beat him until in the Burning Crusade expansion when it first came out. For the longest time, it was just straight up bug that it was going to wipe you every fucking time. And I did prog on that so much. It was just going to wipe you. And it was obviously an artificial roadblock until they got Black Temple out. And the week that they put Black Temple out, they literally then lowered Kael'thas to what he should have been all along. And that day, he was beaten, not by one group, but by like 80% of the groups that were going out there that were serious groups. I kind of get the same feeling here that invasions are artificially tuned to a point where you're not gonna win. But, you know, because they want you to sort of keep, they want the governors who own the towns, like, to have a treadmill. You have to keep leveling your shit. Because if you get to the point where all of your shit is max level and it's not getting downgraded, well, then you don't have reasons to keep missions on the board for people to do stuff. That's my observation. And I'm kind of not even really all that mad about it, because it's like, okay, whatever, it is what it is. When you go do these invasions, you get 700 gold, you get whatever, 400 Azoth, and a bunch of town rep, and a bunch of, like, you get all kinds of rewards. Your gear doesn't downgrade all the time. Anytime you die in there, like, it's the same thing as Outpost Rush. Like, you take no durability damage, so it's free loot. Like, I get it, if you own the town, it's a bit of a bummer that, like, you're on this constant treadmill of level my shit back, but, like, you're making, for most of the towns, you're making decent money. So I'm not even really mad at it. I'm just calling it out for, like, I feel like we're at a point where they're making it easier as far as, like, you can get closer to the win. They're letting you feel better, because it's like, hey, man, I got farther, but you're not going to win yet. And I feel like that's just not going to happen until we get to a point where Amazon sort of flips the switch and says, okay, we've got enough content out that now we are ready for this. And I don't know if that's, you know, a couple months from now when they bring a new zone or what, but
I wonder if the intent is to do kind of the opposite of the claw machine at the arcade.
explain.
So, if you go and play a claw machine at the arcade, the way they're set up, like, there's a bunch of stuff in them, and notionally, like, there's the ones that have the prizes where it's like, you can get an Xbox, blah, blah, blah. So everyone's gonna try and grab the thing that gives you the Xbox. Well, you can line up on that thing perfectly, over and over and over again, and the claw won't, you know, grab with full force to really let you get that until X amount has been put into the machine. That way the machine operator can make their money, because it's essentially skill-based gambling at that point. But we'll just skip over that part. I wonder if the intent is to do the inverse of that later, in that you have people that show up, do the invasions, and you get easy one, quote unquote, that you can win. But every now and again, you're gonna get one where it's like it is now, turned up to 11 and beyond, where it's like, no, your stuff's just gonna get broke on this one. You're gonna have to fix your town.
I think it's sort of yes, but even more insidious than that. I think it's even more than what you're saying, because the claw, I think you didn't quite describe it right, and I hear me out. The claw, it's not that it's not meant to grab it. It's meant to grab the little Xbox thing, for sure, because that gives you that feeling of, like, I can beat this thing. I'm going to put more money into it. But it's meant to, like, grab it janky-wise so that it will drop it before it gets into the little chute of, this is yours now. So, like, I think that's exactly what this change to me feels like. They made it not any easier to beat. They made it much easier to get to the later levels. Like, I've gotten to wave 8. I have got to wave 8 to where you only have 3 minutes or less left, even early on, but only with, like, shit hot teams like before. Now it feels like even pug teams without comms can get to your at wave 8 with 3 minutes left, 4 minutes left, but, like, you're still not even close to being able to win. So I think it's exactly doing that claw thing of giving you the illusion of, we can do this, guys, but really, you ain't doing it until they fucking flip a switch. What do you think about all this, Ark?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, because I'm in the EU, I don't get to play any invasions or wars, which sucks. It's just, you know, it seems like they're all happening at 9 to 11 o'clock at night
Eastern.
Eastern.
Yeah.
So for me, like even Friday, right, I was able to stay up and we were up doing last till my time, 2:30 in the morning. There was none. There was just none that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I have to get into it myself to see what's all going on in there. I mean, I don't really have much I can add in terms of like what their thoughts are on it. I think they're a new developer, and at least in terms of like having success in a big game like New World has, and you just see it all the time. Like for example, look at that boss that like just a few weeks ago, that one up there on the main storyline up at Eden Grove, where you needed herds of people to go in there and do it.
The Guardian.
And
You're
then
just
you, me, and
Guardian of the
Sin,
Motherwell?
yes, the Guardian of the
yeah,
Motherwell is what he's talking about. Yeah.
me, and Sin handle it with the three of us. So I mean, it's a they're definitely feeling things out, figuring out what's going on in terms of what works or what DPS is needed. Um, and again, they just running through with Thu and those guys. They said Laz, that the some of those bosses that we fought against were much harder, easier. So they're doing their tweaking. I guess they'll probably figure it out. I mean, I think the big thing is you don't feel like a loser when you leave invasions, right? Because you end up with like 600 gold. So it's a lot worse when you lose in outposts. You walk out with only 180 versus 360. So I don't know. The only thing I could say is that they're potentially just feeling things out.
Mm-hmm.
Look, man, going back to our early conversation, we're talking about dungeons, talking about or expeditions, or whether people play them or not. And then our good buddy Sin, we know he's bummed out because he's trying to adjust his gear and stuff, and it's hard for him to find gear because we're not getting the kind of drops you get in most MMOs to be able to farm or fish out. It's difficult and a huge grind to be able to craft them. They have the stats, right? They know someone can look at a board meeting on Friday or on Monday, whatever, and they can be like, hey, across the servers, what's the average amount of victories in invasion? Hey, how many people are running in a given week, Lazarus? And they'll look at that and ultimately look, if you're on a board right there and you're looking and you're seeing that, holy crap, more people on Amarine or lower level dungeons, and almost no one's running or higher level expeditions. Or, hey man, look, only 15% of the invasions are victories. You
No,
don't want to
no.
play this.
Let me clarify. 0% of the evasions on all servers are victories, except for the ones where they glitch out. It is a known glitch where sometimes they just won't aggro, and if you all just stay inside the gates and huddle, you'll just win because it times out. But other than that, I have never heard of a single invasion where that it wasn't bugged and they attacked and people won. Like it does
Yeah,
not
so
happen.
even if it was 15%, I mean that's way worse. But even if it was 15%, those are the numbers you want to see. Elder Scrolls Online had this issue. They had this crazy setup for this end game single player arena situation, and like it yielded the best weapons in the game. But for it to be the best weapon, you had to go through these 9 levels of this arena, and it was hard, dude. The only way I can explain it how hard it was, if you remember the old school like Ghosts and Ghouls or some of those Nintendo games where you had like 7 total continues to get through like hours of content, and like if you lost, you're done. This thing was insane to win, and then when you did win, you got the key. It was a random choice that you got any of the weapons that are available, which was a lot. There was like 14. And then it was a random choice of the kind of attribute stats that you needed to be on the weapon for it to be perfect. So like dudes had to run this stuff 70, 80 times, and it was ridiculously hard to beat. Not many people could beat it in the beginning.
Bro,
So then
how are you gonna drop Ghost and Ghouls in the conversation? Now you got me Jones, and I love that game. I'm sorry, I
dude,
interrupted. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But they looked at statistics. They looked at the forums. They don't just need to look at the forums, right? They have statistics, but they looked at both those things. They figured out, oh crap, this is ridiculous. So they started to change the Jesus role on the on the items. They started to fix a lot of the problems with that stuff, and they started to make it a little bit more achievable so that you didn't have to be the god, commute, content developer that simply has all the best stuff, and they're like one of the best gamers in the world, and that dude barely does it. And they tweaked it and they did it. So I think that could be where New World is right now. Not just on invasions and wars, but a number of things. They're trying to figure out what is it going to be where it's challenging. You got to be at least a little bit above average to do it, or have all the right gear to do it, but not so much that like everyone just feels defeated or doesn't play the content because of it.
Okay. All right. Now we got to talk about the news of the week. All right. So the Thanksgiving week sort of started off with them saying, okay, we're working on this issue and that issue and whatever. And last week they said, hey man, we're going to give everybody 90% off on your rent on your houses from now until the December patch, as our way of saying, hey, thanks for bearing with us with this. We're sorry for the fact that the servers are jumping ahead in time at certain times. So like you're supposed to pay your rent once a week on houses that you own, but like it sometimes happens where it's like it'll charge you on Friday and then it'll charge you again on Tuesday, and it's like, well, that's not a week, that's been like 4 days. And it's like, well, yeah, but oops, whatever. So they're like, we're going to lower it by 90%. Then, as a sort of a surprise, they announced at the last minute on like Thursday night, Friday morning, they're like, hey, we're going to do a patch tomorrow, a little small update, and we're going to test it with the EU first. And what we're going to do is give everybody all of the money that they've paid so far on their rent back. So if you paid, if your rent was $900 and you paid $900, we're going to give it back to you just for free as a thank you. If your rent was $900 and because the server keeps skipping ahead, you paid $2,700, well, you're getting that back too. So like everybody's going to be made whole for any losses they've had, and then some, because even your non-losses, even your legitimate, you're supposed to pay that rent, you're getting it back for free. Beautiful thought, phenomenal, but they screwed up the implementation. And what happened was when the servers came back, people were posting in the forums and posting in Reddit, thanks, Amazon, you gave me $480,000 free. And they were like, oh shit. So they immediately crashed the European servers. They never touched the American servers. We didn't get the update. We didn't get our money back that was promised because they screwed it up on the European servers. And I'm thankful that they didn't give us our money back, because the European servers were then down all day. They were down for like 12 hours on Friday while they were like, oh shit, how do we fix this? And then in the end, they rolled back the European servers. So any even legitimate stuff, like if you were a European player who happened to log on that day after the patch, and whether even you got money back too much, you didn't even have a house, you got no money back. But then you looted a lucky dice, or you got a bunch of Tolvium, or you grinded a dungeon, or you grinded your fishing up. Well, for those several hours that it was up before they caught it, all that got rolled back. You lost it. And that's not a great look for them. Let's be honest. This is another in a continuing series of not great looks for them as they've gone on. Honestly, I look at this as this game is very fun, very playable, has great bone structure, is a great platform to build off of. This is a great game. But it's being put out by first timers, and boy, are they making every one of the mistakes they can possibly make. They are just stepping on their own dick left, right, and center. But like, they're new. Whatever. They're very good and very quick at catching these mistakes and stopping to fix them. And it's a pain. It does suck. It's embarrassing for them. But like, WoW was dog shit for the first 6 to 10 months of it being out. Final Fantasy was so bad they had to crash it, take it down for a year, and come back again. Final Fantasy 14, I'm talking about. Like, it's normal for the early days to keep in mind we're in month 2 now. It's very normal for the early days of MMOs to be full of holes and bugs and exploits and embarrassing, like, oh, can you believe they did this and they fix it? I'm not going to shit on people who are working hard and putting out a phenomenal game because it's broken in 90 different ways. Because like they're fixing them fast and they're on it. So like, God bless, Mazel Tov. I feel bad for you guys that had to work like crazy on right at Thanksgiving dealing with this shit, but like, whatever. Like they're getting it. They're getting it done. Wolf, your thoughts on this thing, and then the sort of the continuing saga of fuck ups and then fix ups and all of that.
So it's having an implementation fail like that. Like obviously something was odd. And looking at the chat, it looks like the trading post thing for the EU servers was 3 days that it was down. Seems like they need to take advantage of that test server that they have, but the way that they have the test server with the whole, we have it, we'll set you up with something, and then we take it all the way, and then we do it again, we set you up with something. There's no longevity to it, so there would be no way to have this as a valid test case for the test server, notionally. That being said, look, mistakes happen. Coding is one of those voodoo black magic things where you've got a comma in the wrong spot and it can send you spiraling off into a rabbit hole to try to figure out what the hell is wrong. And yeah, it's a simple fix, but it's a pain in the ass to find. I think the big thing here is the fact that Amazon's being quite open with we fucked that up. That's our bad, and we're going to try and jump on it and make it better. That is a breath of fresh air in comparison to a lot of other game developers. That is really nice to see. How are they hitting everything out of the park? Not every single time, but they're doing a pretty good job, on the whole. The game is playable. There's some aspects of it that, broke. Furniture thing, still broken, but, that's obviously not at the top of the list, and I totally understand that. But the fact of the matter is that they're owning up to their mistakes. And this one in particular was, hey, we fucked these things up. We're trying to, we want to do something nice. Here it is. And just unlucky, roll natural 1 on that D20. They had this particular hiccup happen. If we were to judge and measure them on every single misstep they've made, we would just be beating dead horse after dead horse. And I don't think anybody wants to do that.
I kind of feel like it's less valid to measure people by their mistakes. I mean, sometimes you have to, whatever, but to me, I'm way less interested in people's mistakes as I am in how they fix them. And goddamn,
I'm more
give
interested in them
credit.
learning from their mistakes.
That's true,
and
too.
It seems like they are learning from them fairly well.
Yeah, they make... It doesn't seem like they're making the same mistake twice. They're just making more new and interesting mistakes every time, but like they're getting them out of the way. Ark, what do you think?
Yeah. I don't think things like that are game breaking. Like, it doesn't look good, right? But at the end of the day, it's a one-off oof, and like you jump back in and you're like, look, when I'm dealing with the kids, life's like just like if we were talking earlier, you put Christmas stuff up, I'm putting Christmas stuff, I'm doing all the weird shit, and I sit down for a minute because everyone's gone. I log in, I see the beauty and the sound of the game as I'm just going to work on a crafting. And like somehow the game transcends me into, a place of zen, if you will, where I don't even think about stress anymore. I'm not thinking about these things at all.
Right on.
What y'all just described isn't a game break. Like it doesn't look good. People make mistakes, and like all our favorite games were crazy. I mean, look, just in fact, that's the new norm, right? Younger gamers, they don't even know like what it used to be like when games launched because every game launches busted now. They
Mm.
all launch either busted in beta, alpha, something already. I mean, it's all jacked up, and that's just the industry and people. What we consumers accept that, so whatever. The problem I think Amazon has to focus on is what we talked about earlier. Let's take a look at the things a player has to do in this game. All the things, everything. Make a list, all the shit that you could feasibly do, and let's start seeing what they're not doing and ask ourselves why. Why aren't people really running Lazarus? Yet they have the average player has all the orbs sitting in there. They've been level 60 for EVs. Why are there these giant, which kind of maybe this is a good segue to the fiasco we were in, but why are this at you know 6 o'clock in the evening every day? Why is this giant Zerg just annihilating our AI in Shattered Mountain, running on an insane chest train of craziness?
Mm.
Um, this clearly isn't how Amazon would want people to play the game. Anybody who's from Amazon has said, no, this is what we intended is an idiot. That can't be true. Why are these things happening? And then figure out, okay, well, how do we fix them? Because it's causing players to not quit the game, but they're just not having fun in a good proportion of things. Or a good friend Sin's part of it. You know, he likes the game so much, he's going to continue to fish. You know, he's doing some other things, but he just isn't willing, as neither am I, to go get in this Zerg train, run around mindlessly trying to pick up chests to get some invisible watermark score higher, so that I might get a cool drop in a dungeon at some point.
Well,
My other alternative choices are mundanely grind out an armoring thing, which, oh, by the way, I need the stupid chest drops and all the luck stuff to get the things to even make the good armor anyway. Or I have to grind out PvP, and if you're not a PvP player, to get the faction tokens, which only gets you to 520 level gear anyway, um,
let's talk
then
about it.
that's
Let
either.
let's talk about it. You and I ran a chest run on is it Friday or whatever at 6:30 p.m. that they do on our server. The Green faction does on our server, and man, we had a surreal experience. We ran through. We started at what is it? Not Malevolent.
Mirkgard.
Merkgard, and I
We,
felt
we,
like we were
we
ants. We were literally just in a sea of humanity. It was like it had to be over 100 players, and they were. It was just so many bodies running to places that it looked like just one long train. And you're just running.
yeah,
You can't see your character. You're running. They're jumping up and down these scaffoldings and go over here to get this chest and go over there to get that chest and go over here. And nobody's even killing the mobs. It's just there's so many people that the mobs are like bugging out and like take one swing at one guy and then another swing at another guy. And so long as you're at like the head of the train, like where the train is, there's literally over 100 people there. The mobs just freak out and just kind of stand there like I don't know what to fucking do anymore. And you're just
H-
jumping, chest, jumping chest, jump, chest. And it was, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I had a great fun because it was just the most silly, surreal thing ever. But like, that is not a thing that I think I would enjoy doing every day. They do it every day at 6:30 p.m. and it's like I got stupid crazy loot. I got good like I got lots and lots of stuff and money and whatever, but like it it was
yeah,
not what I
absolutely.
consider playing the game. It was more of a just real silly surreal thing. Ark, why don't you give
Yeah,
your impressions of it?
yeah, check it out. So we started off in the mountain home outpost, right in that far western side of the map. We went from there down to the Scorched Mines, which was insane. As I say, this is Zerg train, easily 60, 70 players. Now we had some fun stuff because we just basically rolled over a couple yellow hats. This is all Marauders, all green hats rolling through here. Um, we rolled through I mean, like there's just bodies everywhere. It looked like uh, that zombie movie with Brad Pitt in it, where like all the zombies are like piling up on
World
one
War
another to get
Z.
everyone. Jerusalem. Yeah, it's just people are everywhere trying to jump up and down. I mean, we went from there. We went all the way to the top, fell down. Then we zerged straight through to Mirgard, and then ran a train. Just smoked everybody. I mean, dude, there were so many people. You couldn't even like you had to have a ranged weapon to even get hits on people because there was so much going on. But like just waterfalling green hats coming in and out of buildings, jumping out of windows, just being crazy. And then we got to the end and we had tons of gear, tons of stuff. And, you know, I'm sure my watermark went up some, but that content, this is supposed to be like, this is like we often say, this is Mordor, right? This is supposed to be where you go in there with a five, maybe two 5-man groups and you enjoy the content. You go through, you figure things out. This broke all of that. We all got like we maybe had to kill 3 or 4 people. I had a quest at a Mirgard where I had to kill X amount of people. I think we only ended up killing about 6 total, even with all that firepower. It just isn't the way the game's supposed to be played. And the reality is, I opened up. I would guesstimate about 70 chests probably in that whole run, and I didn't get not one thing I can use. How can you market a game and tell a player, hey, we need you to go to the zone. It's the most difficult zone in the game. You will run through 70 chests in this zone. If you were to do it in a 5-person group, it would take you all day, like probably 2 days, if you could even do some of it. And you're going to get only stuff that you can break down. But behind the scenes, there's this weird watermarking thing, which eventually, if you keep doing that, it will, you'll be better off. You can't have that in a game. That can't be the way Amazon wants this thing to play out. What they need to do is allow the average player to have that lucky shot of getting that 570, 585, 590, hell, maybe even a 600 drop off of a boss fight, off of a rando elite chest, whatever.
Mm.
Allow that opportunity and players will play the content. If you don't, it's going to be this crazy Zerg thing that we saw. And again, it's the players that are going to do that and they're all excited getting their gear scored up. And then and they're not progressing their personal skill in the game that's going to get them to the point or testing their build to see if it's the right thing or if it's working, which ultimately, you know, this game, we already talked about it. In this game, probably more than any of them I've seen, it matters how you play, move, position, rotate weapons, situationally. It's not just getting up and pushing buttons to get things on cooldown and off cooldown. A lot of positioning, a lot of skill is required to play the game. And those players are getting their gear scores up, but then when they want to go back in there to do the actual content, they're in for a rude awakening.
Mm. So
I'm not gonna do it, man. Like it was fun. I agree. It was fun for me. Like we were laughing our ass off. Like I'm not gonna do that. I think I would go back in there, Kai, just and like you said, when we were doing it, like maybe 2 5-man groups and just enjoy the content.
mm.
Or I would go in there and try to do rogue gameplay where you like sneak and get some things and it's more of a rogue and parkour kind of situation.
Mm.
I'm not gonna run in there and do that crazy madness that we saw again though.
So let's take this up as our second to the last sort of segment of the night. I want to transition this into a conversation of I honestly I basically want to talk about the watermark system. I don't like it. I understand it though. I feel like I understand it. I feel like the purpose of the watermark system is it's a brand new MMO. They don't want people to feel like there's nothing to do. So it has this artificially extended, artificially sort of hard, like weird end game that's supposed to hold people in sort of a holding pattern of like, hey man, this is going to take a long time to do. And I feel like for both the crafting route and the, gear drop route, they have sort of these artificial extenders in them to sort of keep people, it's like busy work to keep people busy. I think it's unfortunate. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I get why they did it. I feel like they should have a little more faith in their content of saying like, hey man, let's let people get the gear and then just trust that they will treat each other as content, that they will do. I would like to see Amazon in the next, I think this patch was great. They gave us a new weapon, they gave us new mob types, they gave us new storyline and quest, they gave us a lot of new stuff, and I love it all. I would like the next thing. I feel like the next thing that we're going to get maybe in a month or so is going to be that new zone and new dungeons. What I would like them to do is also sort of include a little more PvP focused stuff, and just trust that people will treat each other as content. If you give us more PvP stuff to do, you don't have to sort of give us this busy work. You can let us get decent gear and just sort of you know, deal with things, and it'll be fine. That's sort of where I'm at with it. Again, I'm not a fan of the watermark system, but I'm not treating it like this is you guys hate us and clearly you don't know how to make a game, you suck. I feel like they're backed into a corner just because they don't have those content drops out yet. I feel like they're coming, but this was a decision that they made to hold things off for now, and I think it's sort of an unfortunate decision. Ark, what do you think on that idea?
Yeah, I don't like the watermark system as we talked. I think it's ridiculous. Here's what I would do. I would keep the I would keep the watermarking in luck um on the mat stuff, because crafted weapons are some of the most powerful in the game, and it shouldn't be easy that they're created. I get that fully. Um, I'd keep it on the mats, and I'd keep it on, you know, take maybe make it like between 585 and 600 gear or something like that. Because like most of the gear you buy when you're going to the auction house or trade post or whatever, and you're looking to advance your gear, um, most of the good gear that makes you fairly competitive sits somewhere between 550, 560, and yeah, 585 has some good gears. I think you can get like the level 570, 585. You can get the 29 top points on the like the attributes for strength or whatever like that. So that's what you need. You need stuff like that to be competitive. So maybe just have some watermark that just starts at 585 and goes to 600 or something like that. But it should be that we all have an opportunity versus in the hardest content in the game to have a chance at rolling a weapon that we can use. I mean, it's I might as well just be running an Amarine at this point for most of the weapons that drop in there, because like I said, I got all excited, got the best gear stat scores I could get. I just can't use the weapon because the ones I bought are better. So I think that's probably something they should do. Just a quick note on the PvP edition too. I like the idea of having more PvP, more stuff for players to do, and I tell you too, nothing was really toxic. So I have, me in my standards of PvP. Like I don't hunt down. Like I'm always flagged. Most of this game I've been flagged, and I have been running past dudes who are flagged, and they're level 30s or 40s or 60s that are clearly not in the PvP zone. They're just doing some crafting, whatever. And I've let them go, and they've let me. They didn't try to engage me. I had some idiots trying to engage me, and they got smoked. But it's I haven't seen a lot of toxicity in that space, which is interesting and good for the game. So I think creating more opportunities with the PvP play, specifically in areas that have some impact on turning settlements or doing other things that they could figure out and how to give different companies maybe even some boost. How can you create some PvP thing for companies, and just the company maybe gets some kind of boost? I don't know. I mean, but thinking more creatively, I think that would be a really good thing for the game. Um, I think I like where they're at PvP right now, and I just hope it gets a little better.
Hmm. Uh, Wolf, what do you think on that idea with regard to or everything that I said with regard to watermark, and like I'm not a fan of it, but I get why they do it, and I hope that things change in the future, etc.
Yeah, I'm on the same lines. I wish that it wasn't a thing, but I understand it's there, and kind of hoping that it goes away and or just gets flat out replaced with a better idea
Mm-hmm.
later on as there's further content.
Mm. Okay. All right. And to your thing, Ark, as far as like how you're like, man, I stay flagged. I'll say it again. I said it last week. I'll say it again. I would stay flagged in this game constantly if they would make one change. Make it to where when you die to PvP, the only durability damage that you take is to the clothes you have on. As a Omni crafter who has multiple sets of everything, I can't I can't be dying in PvP 10 times with, when I literally have 60 plus pieces of gear on me, and it's like I need to have this for crafting that, and that this for gathering this, and this for gathering that, and this for crafting that. Like I just can't do it, man. If they were to make that change, I don't think it would impact the game at all as far as in any way letting people out of whatever, because you're still going to take full durability on what you're wearing, and nobody's going to be doing PvP naked. That's just stupid. So like, I don't think it affects the game other than making it less penalizing and more enjoyable and more viable for people to flag up. And I think anything that Amazon can do without breaking the game that makes more people flag up is a good thing. What do you think on that, Ark?
Yeah, no, I like, they could also just make it like you say, just not don't have that big of an impact on the durability. The durability impact, that's so horrible. It seems like such a foolish concept. I get it in PvE, I get it in expeditions, but like it shouldn't be that bad uh,
Yeah.
and when you're doing PvP. And what one thing I did hear though, someone was talking about, and I kind of like it. I agree with it. Is the what's interesting is it makes it challenging and like a hard decision to make for a guy who's gathering whether or not they're going to go ahead and get that
30%
put
gathering buff.
PvP gear on, yeah, do the thing, and or whether they're going to go into the gathering clothes and just risk it. I mean, it's a fun kind of construct to think about. um, I definitely like that, like that concept that there's some risky choices for people to think about.
All right, I'm going back to my thing from last week. We're going to go around the horn to close this out. If you could change one thing, add one thing to the game right now. I will say, under the course of news, we have to say it because they did the patch last, was it Wednesday or Thursday? So a couple days ago, they did the patch where it fixed, because you know how last week I was saying my two major issues was the warboards weren't working. Like, they were very glitchy. Half the time they would work, half the time they wouldn't. They did a patch on like Wednesday, fixed it entirely. I went to 7 warboards to sign up. 100% of them worked first time, no problem. Then they had the problem Thursday with the whole, oops, we gave people too much money, and they reverted something. And then it went back to the point of like, okay, 50% success rate. Like, it sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. And that bummed me out. But like, so obviously, yes, please, whatever it is, you obviously know how to do it because you fixed it for like a day, and then you rolled that back. Fix that again, please. But I'm going back to my. There's one thing I can fix right now in the game. For the love of Christ, give us loadouts so we can save all our gear into loadouts and not hunt and peck through 60 pieces of gear of where's my luck set, where's my skinning set, where's my tanning set, where's my mining set, where's my stone cutting set, where's my weaving set, where's my harvesting set, where's my mixing set, where's my armoring set, where's my cooking set, where's my spell making set, where's my this, that. Like, jeez, there's too many sets, man. Let us save them in loadouts. Please, for the love of God, for the love of all things holy, Jeff Bezos, please give us that. Ark, you can make one fix to the game right now. What would it be? Go.
Yeah, man, here it is. Basic, marketing, how you evaluate a price on something. Make the game have value to me. Make all the attributes of the game have value to me. Get rid of the watermark system. create a system that allows me to want to go up the Shatter Mountain, that allows me to want to go into the end game dungeons, get that feeling that you get in MMOs when you get that gear drop that's perfect and you love it. Fix the watermark system so that I want to play. There's value for me to play the other parts of the game that I would guess not just me, but other players aren't playing anymore. And it's going to stop the weird Zerg trains and all. Like, the second effect of that's fix the Zerg trains. If you got more than 10 people in a given area at once, make the chest drops only give you shit or something like that. Get rid of that.
So they sort
Anyway,
of
watermark fix a lot.
A, that's beautiful, brother. I love that. B, they sort of did do that. So if you notice, it was in the patch notes a while, like 2 patches ago. They did nerf by a lot the loot you get if you do the run with if there's more than 10 people. But it's like they nerfed it by like 60 to 70%. So you still have the Zerg going every day, and they're just like, cool, we'll just do it twice as much, and that'll even out. Like, they did do some of that. I honestly think it should be, if there's more than 20 people within if there's more than 20 people within 50, within like whatever, a certain area of the thing, it should just give nothing. Because like that whole fucking stupid 9 million people running at once it just breaks the game. Makes me sad, sad panda.
I like nothing. That's I recant my secondary thing. I take it to 0. You get Jack. In fact, you get some little doll that fucking weighs 100 pounds.
A little voodoo
it's
doll.
Stuck on your person for it's stuck on your person for like 10 minutes.
Bro,
so you're burdened.
That's so evil. I love it. All right, Wolf, you can change one thing about this game. What is it? Go.
It's on your Omnicrafter thing. I would very much like it for the stuff that I'm carrying around before I can get back to town to either sell them or put them away for later use. It's in my bag. Quit breaking the stuff in my bag if I die. The stuff I have equipped, fair game, get it. But everything else, oof, it's just salt on the wound. Come on.
And that's a hard one to do, because that it used to be like that, Wolf. And just to give you a heads up, in the beta, that's exactly how it was. And here's what people would do. They would take off all their clothes and throw it in the bag, and then die to fast travel to town, to skip the run. So like, I get it. I get why they made the change, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe there needs to be some way of like, make it to where it's like, it'll do durability on anything you've had equipped in the last 10 minutes. Because then if you're going to unequip your shit and stand there naked for 10 minutes, well, dude, you would have been faster just to run back to town. Like something, like there's some kind of way. They got smart fellas, they can figure it out. And smart ladies, they can figure it out. I have faith in them. But as it is now, you're right, it just hurts. If I happen to be carrying 40 pieces of gear that I just got in this dungeon, and then we died to the last boss, and then all that gear takes durability damage, it's like, oof. Why I wasn't using it? Go ahead.
Quick note, just as we're talking, right, and we're closing this thing out, like I'm looking in the global chat right now, someone's trying to sell Genesis tuning ore 4K. Like, when players are selling what Amazon deems is probably one of the most valuable items in the game, right? The keys to get into the expeditions, and players just selling them for like 4K. Yeah, that's a bad sign. That's a sign that like nobody wants to do your shit. Figure out why. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting because it just popped up in my thing.
All right, let's go around the horn. Everybody, how are you at? Where are you at with the game right now? Scale of 1 to 10. You could be subjective as fuck. I'm gonna give the game a 9.5 because, yes, I get that if I was grading this on the scale of this is a game that's been out for 3 years and they've got this many fuck ups in a month, oh Jesus, this game would be at like a 4. This game would be, I would be telling people fucking run for the hills. But it's brand new. They're shaking out all the bugs. And I will say this. I call all the bugs. You hear me call them honestly here. I call them out. I say like, whoa, they did that. That was a fuck up. They did this. That was a fuck up. This part's turned off. This part's suspended. This part's whatever. I'm not ignoring them. I'm not a fanboy who's like apologizing for them. But with all of the shit that's in this game, I still play this game 8 hours a day and I'm loving it. So I give it a 9.5, and that's why. And I'm not oblivious to the problems. I'm just still having fun. Wolf, rate the game.
I give it an 8. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy playing it. I don't do nearly the number of hours you do, but it is the one that I'm picking to play. Like, all right, I'm gonna sit down. What am I gonna play? That one. Go. It's truly enjoyable.
Ark.
On to you.
Yep, I'm gonna give it 2 ratings, right? For the content that I play, I'm gonna give it a freaking. I'll give it a 9. The content I play, what it does is great. I'm gonna give it a 7 overall because there's a lot of features and parts in the game that are still broke. But ultimately, I'll say this too. I was telling my wife this earlier. This is like I think my favorite game of all time right now in terms of MMOs and the amount of time it's consuming for me and what I'm doing, what I could be doing with my day versus what I end up doing with my day and just coming down to the man cave. I am spending a ridiculous amount of time here. But just looking at it from a clean perspective, I think holistically, it's got a lot of work to do, but I feel like it's a great investment. I think they're going to do the work, and I think we're going to get the kind of game that we all really want to see.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Beautiful. All right. So I think that closes it out for the night. Does anybody have anything they want to add that they feel like, oh, man, I wanted to get around to this and we didn't? We'll start with Ark.
Yeah, just real quick. Remember Black Sky Legion Company? That's who we are. We are in Pluto. If you are looking for a company that does everything crafting, PvP, we have a Discord. We just have a blast and have fun and talk trash and, help each other out. If that's what you're looking for and you want to come on, think about it, talk about it, hear us talking about it on the show weekly, we are the right company for you. So get a hold of us. Kai, where do they get a hold of us at?
NAE server, Pluto, join the Marauder faction, and then, just look for Black Sky Legion Company. You can find us in the show notes. We have listed our Discord. We have listed our YouTube page, our, podcast thing, all of our shits. It's even got a Patreon on there that is just sort of defunct, whatever. All of our stuffs are on there. Feel free to hit us up. We'd love to hang out with you. Wolf, got anything you want to add before we close this out, brother?
Don't forget, if you join the Discord, hit that Choose Your Roles channel so you can click on the New World icon there for the React, and you can see us all talking and everybody else talking about stuff.
And if you have
Come join us.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or like, man, I don't see this, I don't see that, I don't know how Discord works, I'm new, you'll see the New World chat channel, our voice comms. You'll see people in there all day. We're in there. There's somebody in there. We're hanging out. We're chilling. Come and hang out with us. And if you have anything you want to add to the show of like, hey, man, I want you guys to cover this aspect of the game, or I have a question about that, or hey, let's get into fishing, or let's get into, life staff, or let's get into this or that and the other, put it in the comments section of the show, or come in the Discord and ask us about it, and we'll be more than happy to cover stuff. We love you all. I hope you're enjoying a beer and a nice Sunday afternoon. Happy time zone to you. We're out. Peace, bitches.